A show of confidence amid turbulent times. Just 8 days after Glencore stocks dived 30%, its head of global coal assets, Peter Freyberg, made a case for optimism.
I've been in this industry 37 years. Unfortunately, we've been through these cycles before. And if your business is well positioned, safe, sustainable, and sits on the right place on the cost curve, you get through it.
Despite being almost $50 billion in debt, the company says on the whole demand for coal is up and markets continue to present themselves overseas. Glencore describes the Hunter as vital to its operations. It hauled 56 million tonnes of coal out of the region last year. When it came to guaranteeing the company's 3,800 jobs here, Mr. Freyberg had this to say.
We're not going to talk about cutbacks in the Hunter Valley. We review everything all the time. And we are going through a planning process at the moment, which is our annual planning. But whether it's budgeting or whether it's mid-year, we continuously look at our operations.
The axe fell on Glencore's West Wallsend colliery back in March. It'll close its doors mid-next year. Mr. Freyberg today also took a swipe at Newcastle Council's decision to move away from investing with banks who support fossil fuel projects.
They don't fully understand the climate and energy realities that we're dealing with globally.
Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
Two Hunter towns hit by two big changes.
The mines is very down, so that really affects with our business.
The Hunter Expressway has also taken plenty of passers-by away. Tonight, Cessnock Council will discuss the possibility of part-funding a town centre coordinator in an effort to help the communities.
The coordinator will be then let loose on the area, not just Branxton and Greta and North Rothbury, and we are hoping that the coordinator can get things going.
Well, the Hunter Expressway opened in March last year with an estimated 20,000 cars using it a day. Now, the real worry here was that places like Branxton and Greta would become ghost towns. But as far as some of the local businesses are concerned, it's been the opposite.
It's all positive, the freeway's opened up, it's changed the way we operate, but it's also given us a whole new light and a whole new optimism in where we go to in the future.
And the future development nearby is also seen as another bonus.
Huntley, Radford Park and a number of the other developments around the area within 15 minutes of this town is huge.
Further up the road today, the $11 million Singleton Town Centre revitalisation was unveiled. It's designed to enhance the shopping experience for locals and showcase the town to visitors. Michael Kane, NBN News. Historic Morpeth is in the spotlight over something new.
Well, I think it'll ruin the whole town of Morpeth, really.
The Morpeth Land Company wants to set up a housing estate on the former bowling club site in Edward Street.
There are certainly people out there that might like to see development. There are people out there that would like to make Morpeth their home.
Well, this is the site that Morpeth Land Company want to build up to 30 homes on and also turn the existing clubhouse into a childcare centre. For that to happen, it has to be rezoned and a development application lodged. And if it gets knocked back, the development company says it could look towards building relocatable homes.
It's hard enough at the best of times for councillors to make an even-handed decision and they can certainly do without pressure being applied to them.
Councillors were supposed to vote on the rezoning on September 22, but the matter was withdrawn at the last minute. A revised report will now be put to a vote next Tuesday. Russell Rygrock lives directly across the road from the site and argues the proposed development is overdevelopment.
I know the places, Maitland in general, is stressed out as far as housing goes, but I don't think this development should go ahead.
Morpeth Land Company directors were today unavailable for comment. Michael Kane, NBN News.
Gusts of up to 70 kilometres an hour whirled around Ray-Watt Oval today, the perfect preparation for a game in one of the world's windiest cities.
I remember one game in particular with Wanderers, literally goal was pretty much scored by wind. So that stadium is very big and it's blowing around, seriously, like wind's going around, and yeah, trip is far. They're a very good team.
The Jets have only won one of their last 13 matches in Wellington. It's a dismal record, but Mateo Polyak believes it's about to change.
Seeing many new faces here, I think everybody's got a point to prove, and we'd like to kick off well, and that's I think extra boost and confidence for us.
Kiji Lee was on ice today with a niggle, but is expected to be fit to play. Mitch Cooper is tipped to fill the void up front in the event Trifunovic is unavailable. The highly regarded marksman is finding his feet physically, while bilingual players such as Polyak are helping out verbally.
Obviously it's easier for him when he's got someone who understands him, who can explain him a bit better, but his English and everybody else, like us foreigners, English is getting better, so communication is better, they're more confident to talk themselves.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
She finished second with Melbourne last season, but Gemma Simon has since endured tough times off the pitch.
Dealt with some chronic fatigue stuff for a couple of months there. My mum passed away 6 weeks ago, so I'm just happy to be back playing football, especially in my hometown.
Hannah Bromley had a different reason for her move to the Jets.
The beaches. Well, I like to surf, so that was definitely a big reason, but mainly just because of the opportunity to play at this high level again.
The New Zealand international will cover the loss of experienced defender Hayley Crawford. Chloe Lagazzo replaces W-League Player of the Year, Emily Van Egmond.
It's big shoes to fill, but hopefully I'll be able to do something and, follow in her footsteps and maybe do one better and get the girls into the semi-finals.
Jenna Kingsley and Adriana Jones have also been added to a squad which opens its season against Perth on October 24.
A blunt assessment from an experienced pro.
It's been a pretty crappy year for me golf-wise.
Nitty's disastrous 2015 saw him fall off America's second-tier tour. Last week's wire-to-wire win in Noumea was a reminder of what he's capable of.
It was really good to actually get that bit of confidence boost heading into the Australian summer and a tournament in Fiji coming up in a week.
The victory was sparked by a long overdue visit to his coach, Jason Laws. The pair ironing out the kinks which are developed in Nitty's stance.
As a professional golfer, no matter what level, you need someone keeping an eye on your swing constantly, just to make sure, you're not compiling any errors or, just getting away from what you should be working on.
Now 32, Nitty's wants to return to the PGA Tour.
I'm coming right into my prime, and mental is everything. As I said, a little bit of confidence and you can win a tournament.
Paddy Kilmurray, NBN News.
We know bits of the story. As we do more comprehensive and more systematic sampling, we start to build a much more complete story where we can join up the parts of it.
A $90 million state-of-the-art 7-storey courthouse complex that's now in the home stretch to completion.
It's been difficult and complex, I suppose, is a better way of looking at it.
The new Justice Building is billed as the state's biggest and most technologically advanced court facility outside Sydney. And today the Attorney-General and NBN's cameras got a look inside. It will have 10 state-of-the-art courtrooms that can host local, district and Supreme Court hearings.
The use of the site and what's resulted as far as the courthouse is concerned has been a great result.
The project hasn't been without its challenges.
We had sinkholes which were basically developed out of previous use, unfilled basements, and other areas of the site that were affected by encroachment of footings from the Clarendon Hotel onto the site, which had to be cut and dismantled piece by piece.
The Attorney-General clearly believes it'll be worth the effort.
It is our biggest project, our biggest commitment to justice in New South Wales at the moment, and we're giving it to Newcastle because we know there are lots of needs for justice here and we want to give them the best possible justice system that we can.
December is the estimated completion date, 5 months later than expected.
It is over time. However, it is a complex project and we're focused on a quality outcome and the project being finished.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Opening the gateway to wine country. The $20 million Broke Road upgrade, an election promise which today finally came to fruition.
We get 1.5 million tourists through this area each year, as well as the thousands of workers who use the road every day, and it's certainly an exciting development.
It's a vast change from the old road, once voted the second worst in the state, and one that left a lasting impression.
Previously, the thing they remembered about Hunter Valley Wine Country was the bad roads.
It's not the only Hunter Road earmarked for improvement.
Next on the agenda is Hermitage Road, and the New South Wales Government has committed $16.7 million, and planning for that is now underway.
New plans have also been released for the proposed M1 Pacific Highway link, although Wallsend MP Sonia Hornery believes the time for planning has long passed.
We started planning for the Newcastle Inner City Bypass Stage 5 from Jesmond to Rankin Park in 2013. Now, I really think on behalf of the community that 4 years of planning is just too long.
The Pacific Motorway itself hasn't been getting rave reviews either, topping the NRMA's list of most complained about roads in the Hunter.
prompting calls for government intervention.
There's no doubt that we need more support, and there are certain roads that we need to make priorities.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
The release of Doves, an emotional tribute that unites strangers. For Chrissy Chapman, this was for her son Ben.
It was beautiful. It was like setting your soul free.
Ben took his own life in 2002 at the age of 19. Today, flanked by her daughters, Chrissy spoke of her love and loss at Wesley Life Force's Suicide Memorial Service, a poem she wrote expressing the family's pain.
From the moment we get up in the morning until it's time for bed, you're in our thoughts, wondering why it had to end.
She says sharing her story is difficult but important.
It means a lot to help others in the same journey, because it is a hard journey and it's a long journey, and I'm still going through that journey, and I think it's a lifetime thing.
Wesley Life Force organises the service annually to give people who've lost someone to suicide an opportunity to grieve openly and find comfort in each other.
It enables people to know we're not in this alone, and we can actually be open about our emotions, our feelings. I think it helps people to move on a little bit in their lives after such events.
A sunflower ceremony provided a symbol of hope, with attendees laying flowers in the foreshore pond in memory of those they've lost. If you need help or support, you can go to Wesley Mission's website or call Lifeline anytime.
It was an eye-opener of a rescue, even for an experienced helicopter crew.
We didn't really know what we were getting into until we actually got out there and saw the locations. Extremely remote. I haven't seen countryside like that out there.
At around 10 a.m. yesterday, Newcastle's Westpac helicopter was called to the Warrumbungles west of Coonabarabran amid reports an abseiler was in trouble.
Something went wrong and he'd fallen about 15 metres, so he actually laid on the bottom of the ravine, if you like, or in between a crevice between the two mountains.
The 56-year-old actually fell late on Tuesday. It wasn't until the morning that his partner managed to reach him.
For over, 12 hours the previous night, until his partner, who then had to camp the night on top of the rock, she scaled down and then went and raised the alarms.
It became one of the crew's toughest assignments.
No one was really sure of his injuries, but certainly the location where he was, there was no walking him out. We put our medical crew in and he was treated and placed in a special stretcher, and we had to perform the extrication, which was fairly difficult. We had our work cut out for us to actually try and get him out of there.
Job successfully done. The man was flown to John Hunter Hospital, suffering leg injuries. Michael Kane, NBN News.
Australian motorsport's fabled mountain. Aaron and Drew Russell's dream of racing in the main game, finally a reality.
Absolutely chuffed. Been a while for me, and to see a car in our team colours go out on the track in this series is amazing.
Their father Wayne is in the pits and on the tools. He raced at Bathurst in 94 and 97.
this really is a truly family effort. Yourself, your brother Aaron and your dad, all part of the team.
Yeah, definitely. And the crew, their cousins, family, step-parents, everything like that. So, yeah, totally family.
Today's result wasn't important. Time in the car was. The brothers navigating the famous track unscathed.
We're doing a lot off our own bat. GRM's helped us quite a bit, but you know, the amount of little things it takes to go in this series, it just stacks up, and it's a huge amount of effort.
They both missed out on playing at this year's World Cup, but W-League Jets Georgia Yeomandale and Tara Andrews are trying to ensure they won't be left out of the Matildas next time.
Tara Andrews has been in and around national youth teams for a long time now. I'm playing for Newcastle and went to America recently and did really well in their second tier competition and played well last night. And Georgia Yeomandale similarly, ex-Canberra girl but played at Newcastle, but really good athlete and powerful player.
The girls will return to Newcastle this weekend for the Jets' season launch, where the club's 2 imports will be revealed. A host of their teammates are keen to prove they belong in the competition.
So I've had 3 operations in the past few years with my knee. So yeah, hopefully back here to stamp my authority on W-League.
It'll just be good to just get into a season and try and prove a point and try and score goals and make myself better.
The Jets open their campaign in Perth on October 24. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
Learn to navigate and do it myself, and yeah, make sure I'm not relying on tracks. So if we make a mistake at the moment, it's not so bad, but yeah, we don't want to make those mistakes in Dakar.
Troy Bayliss, a 3-time Superbike World Champion and Grand Prix winner, and also tentatively penciled in, depending on his business commitments, is the 3-time Speedway World Champion Jason Crump.
It crosses Newcastle Harbour 40 times a day and its regulars swear by it.
We should be using it as much as we can. Ferry across, get a bus to wherever we want to go, or just out of Newcastle and don't have to drive.
The service runs between Queen's Wharf and Stockton, and there have long been calls to add more destinations. Now Tim Krakenthorpe wants ferries included in the city's transport strategy.
Why not get that ferry going to Honeysuckle and also to Wickham?
Patronage for the service has slumped in recent years, but the state member for Newcastle, Tim Krakenthorpe, believes it'll spark new interest as well as become an added bonus to the Wickham interchange.
We get people coming from Stockton across to Wickham. They can hop on the train there, and also to Honeysuckle, which is a new centre of employment and leisure as well.
A meeting is now being organised with the Transport Minister Andrew Constance, Roads and Maritime Services and Transport for New South Wales. Meanwhile, this Sunday, a student protest will be held at Civic Station against the removal of the heavy rail line. With the university's new space building in Hunter Street opening in 2017, making it to class and on time is the issue.
Our previous service with the heavy rail was that we could get from this station into the city in about 20 minutes. It was safe, it was direct, it was consistent.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
We're going to start to keep an eye out for this, and we all practice catch and release and trying to make the fishery sustainable and all the rest of it, and there's just a few blokes out there just wrecking it for everyone. Yeah.
We got 4.9% growth in our home loan this year, which is a 3% increase from last year. That's a good result for us.
If you were to draw about a 10-kilometre line around the city, that's where most of the growth is being seen.
For some students, school life and the pressures it brings can prove challenging. The Bright Minds project is working to change that. 18-year-old Gemma Morgan is a member of the group, which in conjunction with the Hunter Institute of Mental Health has launched a reference guide for teachers to help identify pupils doing it tough.
Mental health is something that is brought up quite a lot, and I think through the teacher's reference guide, teachers being able to actually understand and identify signs that students are going through is something that's going to be really important in the school.
It provides a list of signs to look for, such as a decline in academic performance, being lethargic or irritable, and not showing an interest in things they would normally enjoy. It also includes instructions on how to address their concerns.
We know that about 75% of adult mental health cases begin in adolescent years, and it's important for us to provide early intervention and prevention support for young people to minimise the impact that mental illness has on young people.
Meanwhile, preparations are underway for next week's forum in Charlestown, which has attracted 13 local high schools.
To talk about youth mental health and create some strategies that they can take back into their schools to help combat the issue of youth mental health.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
The Jets put the finishing touches on their preparation this morning. Exactly how they'll fare on Sunday in a city where their record is poor is unknown.
You'll see nerves, I'm sure you will do, and obviously the physical capacity is limited as well because you haven't had that stimulation at 90 minutes at A-League level, so there will be a fatigue factor in the game that you do see a drop-off in terms of transition and high intensity.
A new look side with two very new imports. Their late arrival means their preparation has been limited. Scott Miller confident they will contribute.
He's certainly improving day by day. This week's been difficult for him as well in terms of A-League commitments. So going down to Sydney, he suffered slightly physically, so we deloaded him throughout the week latterly, and I found him to be quite positive today.
Miller wouldn't elaborate on exactly which two players will drop out of his 18-man squad for the trip, but it's unlikely there'll be any major surprises.
Full deck, we're looking well. Everyone's available to a degree, so we'll look to continue to load certain players that arrived at the club late, but full deck to select from.
The surrounds of his hometown aren't quite as exotic as Highbourne Key, a remote island located off the coast of the Bahamas.
It's got the best of the short course athletes, long course and middle distance athletes all coming together, and we race over Friday, Saturday, Sunday in all different distances.
Royal sees the invitation as a just reward for an outstanding season. While 2015 has panned out perfectly, it couldn't have begun any worse with a dose of swine flu.
I got it in Abu Dhabi somehow, picked it up from someone. I didn't even know swine flu was going around anymore. But that really knocked me about. I was so sick for a good couple of weeks. Not long after that, I got a foot injury which hung around for about 6 weeks or so, which made it really difficult to just find some momentum and find some form.
With a disrupted preparation, form was hard to find. He arrived at the Olympic test event in Rio out of sorts.
To be honest, even in Rio I was nervous and worried that I wasn't going to be right for the race.
A top 8 finish would confirm his place on next year's Olympic team. And Royal delivered.
You spend so much of your time, pretty much my entire athletic life, dreaming of qualifying for the Olympics, but you never actually think about how you would feel if it actually happened. And it was just a really weird, bizarre sort of feeling that obviously I was happy, but I was like, wow, I actually did it. It was almost a bit of shock and took a real long time to actually sink in.
Right now, he's healthy, confident, and ready for the biggest year of his life.
I always think going on a holiday would be nice, but I spend so much time away every year that by the time I get to November, I just want to sit down and do nothing.
Life in the red zone. Robert Rosewarne is one of the newest inhabitants of the area under investigation, with the Williamtown expert panel yesterday extending its scope. The Saltash resident, who also runs a business on his property, says his life and livelihood is on hold.
The concern that we have is, once we're in the red zone, how do we get out of the red zone? And given that what I've researched and found about the life of this product in the ground, it's by far going to outlive me.
He says he's had to source Department of Defence papers to find answers about potentially toxic firefighting chemicals once used at the base.
We're still being kept in the dark. We're no better off knowledge-wise now than when we were when it was first released.
This is Moore's Drain in Saltash. The RAF base lies about 5 kilometres that way, while Tilligary Creek starts about 1 kilometre the other way. This whole area is now in the expert panel's area of investigation. Meantime, water continues to flow between the two sites. Member for Port Stephens Kate Washington says she wants an independent assessor to oversee the investigation because the community has lost confidence in the authorities.
The government just cannot keep its head in the sand thinking that what they're telling our community is enough, because it's not. And a lot of the agencies that are involved, my community has a deep distrust of.
The Department of Defence was unable to comment on the matter. Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
It was a day of billy cart action as a suburban Lake Macquarie street turned into a raceway. From your more traditional models to this. Building the Flying Tadpole was a labour of love for David Rogers.
It's built like a canoe out of fiberglass and plywood, and we've built it to run in a few different billy cart races.
What makes a good billy cart?
Weight, streamlining, and wheels that just roll and roll.
One thing was obvious. Anything you were prepared to put on 4 wheels was going to get a start. Well, it might be Bathurst weekend and Mount Panorama, but that's got nothing, because today we got the 2nd annual Holmesville Billy Cart Derby, where men, women and children get together to conquer Charlotte Street.
We're still an old school town. We like to keep everything nice and laid back, and yeah, it's part of tradition, so we're going to just run with it.
Some were just all smoke and mirrors. Looks like it's going okay.
Oh, yeah, that's all good. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
Yes, I am!
In the final, Johnny the Stig Redgrove did enough to salute the checkered flag.
Well, the boys from the golf club built the cart, and I'm the idiot in it.
Proceeds from the day went to family support group Mum's Cottage. Michael Kane, NBN News.
A man that's bled red and blue his entire career, Kurt Gidley was a popular winner. A hug from the medal's namesake and some parting thoughts for those who voted.
The people who I want to respect me at the end of the game, at the end of every game, is my teammates.
Gidley acknowledged what was a difficult season. He parts with the club for a stint in the English Super League, but not without an emotional tribute to his parents.
And I think that's where it all comes back to, is how you're brought up. No, I never missed out on anything in my whole career.
Dane Gagai won the Coaches Award, while Cade Snowden won Players Player. He's optimistic about 2016.
I think a lot. There's only one way, and that's up.
Coach and newly appointed skipper Gemma Simon. Picture perfect 2 weeks out from their season opener.
Everyone's kind of getting comfortable together and kind of starting to blend and getting used to each other. So I think we should be able to give it a good crack.
The Jets' recruitment drive is over. 2 new imports touched down from the US last night.
They've got all the credentials and, they're lovely people and they're really loving being in Newcastle at the moment. So, like I said, it's going to be a positive injection to the group.
Megan Oyster and Caprice Didasco met fans at today's community launch. Both went to UCLA and have represented their country at under 20 and under 23 level.
Obviously the weather's beautiful here, it's summertime, I'm really excited and I've heard only good things about the girls too, so it's a really strong league and we have teammates from the Washington Spirit who are playing in the league too, so I know it's going to be competitive.
The girls are so sweet, so down to earth, just really excited to get out on the field out with them and start playing.
Phil Blanche has been catching fish, crabs and prawns in the Hunter River for more than 35 years. But he says proposed changes to the commercial fishing industry mean his business is on the line.
No one wants it, but different parts of the industry and people are pushing for it.
The Department of Primary Industry says the reforms are about creating an economically viable and environmentally sustainable industry by placing more value on fishing licences. The New South Wales Commercial Fisheries Business Adjustment Program is billed as making the industry more competitive by restricting the number of licences or shares available. It includes a $16 million buyout package and an increase in the cost of commercial fishing.
For every licence I've got, I'd be looking to $150,000 to $200,000.
It's uncharted waters for those in Newcastle, with fishermen predicting substantial job losses.
You're probably talking about 20 or 30 people, but that's not counting the seafood shops, the fishing cults, and the public won't be able to buy fresh seafood.
Prawner Kevin Radridge argues the changes will cripple the already fragile industry.
We've all got families, we've all got to eat, and it's our business, it's our livelihoods.
The department told NBN News the state government will carefully consider the recommendations before making any firm decisions. Georgina Smythe, NBN News.
They've got a 5,000 student campus going in directly opposite a railway station, and they're legitimately concerned about frequency and capacity of the proposed system.
For most of us, they're known only as racing dogs. But Wallsend Vet Newcastle wants to change that.
Greyhounds are wonderful pets. They're quite placid. They don't require much exercise at all, and they're the perfect buddy on the lounge, just like any other dog.
Today's Family Fun Day was about raising awareness and funds for the greyhound adoption organisation Friends of the Hound.
You can imagine that's a huge resource for food, medication, all the daily requirements, exercise. So it's absolutely integral that we do have help from the community.
The Greyhound Racing Inquiry has thrown a spotlight on the industry, with a confidential report revealing up to 17,000 healthy dogs are destroyed each year.
We've had a lot more people interested in adopting and even how they can help. So some people may not be in the position to be able to adopt, but they want to help in some way or other.
Tammy Bruce started fostering greyhounds through the organisation 18 months ago and has since adopted 3 of them.
They're not vicious dogs just because they have a racing background. They're not meant for racing. That's something that, people long ago have decided for them, and I don't think it should go on.
If you are interested in fostering or adopting through Friends of the Hound, just head to the group's website. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
A new era for the Jets, and it was a new signing who kept Wellington at bay, Cameron Watson clearing a Phoenix corner off the line. The home side was creating the most chances early, but when Leonardo and David Carney broke for Newcastle, it was import Milos Trifunovic who blew a golden opportunity. Carney was then involved in a heated exchange. Former Jet Andrew Durante left the field injured, and the visitors took full advantage of his absence, Lee Kee-Jee finding Carney unmarked in the box. Mark Birighitti was busy in the first half after getting the nod to start the season in goals for Newcastle. Then, just before the break, the Phoenix finally found a way through the Jets' defence. Lining up for their first Bathurst 1000, older brother Drew was chosen to start them off. From 24th on the grid, Russell was content to stay out of trouble. By lap 71, Aaron had taken the wheel, enjoying several unhindered laps over the mountain as the pair edged into 18th. Drew returned but suffered issues with the car. There was more drama for the team on Saturday in the development series. Drew got that car into 7th before making a pit stop. Aaron then wasted no time making his mark. Until a run-in with Macaulay Jones ended his charge. Newcastle was looking to build on a win against Sutherland in its opening game of the season, but Randwick Petersham had other ideas. Nathan Price and Daniel Sams put together a solid partnership before Price was caught on 44. When Sams was dismissed for 42 off the bowling of Nick Foster, the hometown Steel was back in the match. Unfortunately for Newcastle, Sean Eaton took up the slack, belting his way to 40 not out. The visitors were eventually rolled for 171 for the loss of 7 wickets. In reply, Newcastle openers Joseph Price and Greg Hunt looked to get the Steel off to a promising start. But when Hunt went for 9 and Price was bowled for 11, the Steel was 2 for 30. Mark Littlewood did his best to keep the home side in the game, top scoring with 26. But after doing plenty of damage with the bat for Randwick Petersham, Nathan Price produced the best spell of bowling. In 1 over, he removed Grant Stewart, Mitch Claydon and Foster. Newcastle all out for just 109.
They're the brains behind one of the most spectacular coastal walks in Australia, which attracts up to 1,500 people an hour on weekends.
Everyone's put in their time and energy, and it's been a great collaboration of the public and the private sector.
Following on from the Anzac Memorial Walk's success, Neil Slater and Barney Collins are again thinking big. Earlier this year, they floated the idea of connecting the Bathers Way Promenade to the Fernley Track at Cahaiba, and with interpretive signs creating a history lesson of coal mining in the area. And now Newcastle Council's running with the concept, hiring engineering firm Jacobs to undertake a feasibility study. The Bathers Way extension could involve reopening 2 old rail tunnels within Merriweather Hill and building pathways and raised platforms through Glenrock State Conservation Area to Cahaiba.
I think it's a very interesting concept, and looking at the number of people that are actually using this Bathers Way every day, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, it'd be an excellent idea, really would.
I like the fact that it's quite remote down there.
I think it would be great to extend it in some ways, but I also like that Burwood is kind of secluded and on its own.
Jacobs Engineering will investigate whether the mining tunnels could be repaired and reopened. The engineers who originally blocked them are also being consulted. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
It's a region known for creating some of the country's top drops, but now the international market is about to open up more to Hunter winemakers, thanks to Australia signing on to the world's largest free trade area.
There have been pretty heavy duties on importing our products to a lot of Southeast Asian countries. But we're going to be made more competitive. And that position, Vivian, is going to even improve over the years to come.
Brian McGuigan currently exports more than 2/3 of his wine, and is hoping the significant reduction in tariffs will encourage smaller operations to do the same.
This is only going to enhance their opportunities and the opportunities for the development of our industry here in the Hunter.
At the moment, wines from the Hunter Valley overseas are considered a premium product, but the trade agreement will make them more accessible to everyone, and that will only mean more sales. The good news comes on the back of a challenging year weather-wise for winemakers.
This is a terrific opportunity for us to develop our businesses in that area of the world, and we thank the federal government for the initiatives they've taken.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
It was good to get it over and done with. Went in there a bit nervous, but past 3 weeks, just been studying hard for it.
I thought that it was good. I thought it pretty much tested everything that we've learnt this year.
All the hard work's pretty much over. There's still a lot that students can do to prepare for the upcoming exams, but I'm sure it's a feeling of relief today as they walk out of their first English paper.
They're one of the greatest bands of all time, and tonight something like this will be going on in Newcastle's entertainment centre. But one fan is getting the experience of a lifetime as a roadie, thanks to Legacy and Kiss themselves.
Gene Simmons and the band actually pick one War Widow from each concert. He's a great supporter of the forces overseas and here, and this is his way of saying thank you.
15 years ago, Kay Aburn lost her husband Greg, who worked for the Defence Force, to cancer. He was just 39 and a Kiss fan to the very end.
I used to sing, when my husband was in hospital, we actually used to sing, I Was Made for Loving You, because they have meanings to their songs when you really listen to it. So, so it's very special to me.
Kay's been a roadie since 11 o'clock this morning, working behind the scenes and enjoying the buzz alongside the US roadies. But the best part will be standing backstage during tonight's concert and meeting the men behind the makeup. She just needs to figure out what to say to Jean.
I don't know, for once I'll be lost for words. And I'm never lost for words.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
Doctor, author, former athlete and public speaker. Dr. John Tickell has been on the health and well-being bandwagon long before it became trendy. And right now, the straight-talking doc is worried about his fellow Aussies.
We're now top of the world at cancer, top 5 in the world at obesity, top 5 at getting diabetes, top 5 at having heart attacks. We're bloody good at getting crook.
The 70-year-old had his own brush with serious disease 5 years ago, brain cancer, treated with intensive chemotherapy. He believes his healthy lifestyle contributed to his recovery and is now spreading the message through seminars called Heal Yourself.
The day I was diagnosed with brain cancer, I decided I wasn't going to leave this planet until I'd changed 1 million lives and saved 1 million lives.
He advocates a simpler lifestyle without the fads, a diet based around fresh, natural foods and exercise.
90% of us spend 90% of our time sitting or lying.
He also says we need to find time to switch off and return to some simple, old-fashioned values.
All the F's, family, fun, friendships, faith, fruit and veg, fibre, fitness, football. They're the things that we've got to bring back into our lives and get back to basics.
Dr. Tickell will speak in Newcastle again tomorrow and Gosford on Thursday.
I was side by side with an American athlete, Aaron, who's a good mate of mine, and we clashed elbows a few times and then just got away. It's It's one of those races where the last 30 seconds you feel like you're about to vomit the whole way. It's just everything you have is going in pushing fast. I'm on a flight at about 3 o'clock this afternoon. I've got to get back to Sydney. I've got an 18-month-old boy. I get 3 days with him, and then I'm off to Qatar for the World Champs and back for New York in 3 weeks.
Widely tipped to finish with a second straight wooden spoon, the Jets couldn't have made a bigger statement in round one. 3 points in Wellington, a city which has never been a happy hunting ground. The coach says it demonstrates the Jets' new philosophy of passion and commitment.
It's about making the team proud and the supporters proud of our performance, and coming to Wellington and beating a strong Wellington team who are very good in the transition and good in possession. I thought we dealt with their threat very well.
For a club that hasn't had overwhelming success with imports, the debuts of Milos Trifunovic and Leonardo were encouraging.
We added that key pass and that forward threat for us, and obviously Milos scoring on debut. It's a big moment for him, and it's the reason we purchased him, and he moved to the club and he's had an impact in game one, so you've got to be happy with that.
The coach reserved special praise for David Carney. Dumped by Phil Stubbins last season, the former Socceroo scored the opener and set up the winner.
David's a new man, and that's credit to himself. He's had a difficult 6 months, and the way he's prepared for this game and looked after his body and, basically stepped up his mentality throughout the pre-season has been outstanding. So David needs to take a lot of credit for himself and his performance tonight, and I'm expecting a lot more throughout the season from him as well.
The only concern for the coaching staff, the number of cards with 4 Jets given yellows. Skipper Nigel Bogart's red will see him miss Saturday's clash with Sydney FC.
They came off the back of their American season, so they're going to be fit. They're very nice girls, met them, so I think they'll slot in quite well. And we've got about 5, I think, young Matildas, so we've got a lot of young talent. So hopefully that will complement the older, experienced players nicely.
I think from our point of view, we've got a really young team and a lot of local girls, so we need to focus on ourselves and try and be the best we can be.